I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. I've been married to Jessica for about 5 years now. We met in college, hit it off right away, and everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. She was charming, confident, a bit bitchy sometimes, but that was part of her allure. Hell, I loved her fiery attitude, even when she lied constantly about the tiniest things. That should have been my first warning sign, I guess. But I always shrugged it off, convinced she was just a little secretive or maybe just guarded because she'd been hurt before. Things started feeling off about a year ago. Jessica became more distant, more irritable. She'd come home late from work, make up stories about meetings or supposed client dinners. Sometimes she'd get phone calls in the middle of the night, and she'd quickly hide her phone or change the subject if I asked who called. At first, I tried to brush it aside, telling myself I was just paranoid. But then, small things kept piling up. Her phone screen suddenly locked, her texts would vanish when I'd peek, and she'd get defensive at the slightest hint of questioning. Still, I didn't want to believe she was cheating. I kept telling myself it was just insecurity, or maybe she was just tired or stressed. Then came the night I found something that shattered everything I thought I knew. I was in the bathroom, brushing my teeth before bed, when I noticed her phone lying on the counter. I usually don't go snooping, but something about the way she was acting that day made me suspicious. I picked up her phone and noticed her messages were open. I saw a message from someone named Mike. It was flirty, playful, saying things like, "Can't wait to see you tonight," and "You're so hot when you talk dirty." My stomach dropped, my mind raced. Jessica was always the bitchy one, but she was also a liar. I knew I had to dig deeper. I scrolled through her messages, trying to stay calm, but my hands were shaking. There were dozens of texts, all private, all intimate. She'd been hiding this from me for months, maybe longer. I felt betrayed. How long had this been going on? Was this just a fling, or was this some deep affair? The worst part was the way she lied about everything, even when I confronted her later. It's like she had a whole double life. I couldn't believe I'd been blind to it all, that I'd trusted someone who was clearly capable of betraying me this way. The feeling of betrayal was overwhelming. I kept thinking about all the times she told me I was crazy for suspecting anything, how she'd call me paranoid or insecure. Now I had proof, and it hurt so much I couldn't even breathe right. After I saw her messages, I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there staring at her phone, my mind racing with a million thoughts. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal. How could she do this to us, to me? We had our problems, sure, who doesn't, but I never thought she'd actually cheat on me. I kept asking myself if I missed signs, if I was just blind, or if she was really that good at hiding it. The worst part was knowing she lied about everything, even the small stuff. Tell me she was working late, then I'd find out she was with Mike. It was like her lies were woven into every part of our life, and I had just been too stupid to see it. The next day, I knew I couldn't keep quiet about this. I had to confront her. I wasn't planning to scream or accuse her right away. I needed to see her reaction, get her to slip up, or at least get some kind of explanation. So I waited until she got home from whatever night meeting she'd lied about. When she walked in, I was sitting on the couch, her phone in my hand, waiting. She looked surprised, maybe a little guilty, but she kept her bitchy attitude intact. "What's this?" I asked, holding up her phone. She froze for a second, then quickly reached for it. I pulled back and looked her straight in the eyes. "You've been lying to me, Jessica. I found your messages, the ones with Mike." Her face twisted into that familiar bitchy sneer. "Oh, come on, it's not what you think. You're overreacting. It's just flirtation, that's all. It's harmless." Her voice was all pouty, like I was the crazy one for even bringing it up. But I wasn't stupid. I knew exactly what I saw. Her excuses, her lies, they all sounded so fake, so manufactured. She kept insisting she was just talking to an old friend, that it was nothing. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I knew she'd been cheating, that I had all the proof I needed. Her reaction: she rolled her eyes, called me paranoid, said I was insecure, and told me I was ruining everything because I didn't trust her. That moment hit me hard. Her words, her tone, they dripped with contempt. She was so used to lying, so used to manipulating, that she didn't realize how much she'd hurt me. I felt my stomach turn. I felt the rage bubbling up, but beneath that was a deep sadness I couldn't shake. How did I get here? How did I end up with a wife who lied, cheated, and played me for a fool? I wanted to scream at her, to shout at the top of my lungs, but instead I just sat there, looking at her and realizing I was lost in this mess. I trusted her, believed in us, and now I was left with nothing but the cold truth and heart that felt shattered. After her denial and the way she dismissed my discovery, I knew I couldn't just let this go. I needed a plan. Not just to confront her again, but to really get to the bottom of how deep her betrayal went and what I was going to do about it. I started thinking about my options. Should I just pack my bags and walk away? Or was there a way to make her pay for what she did? Honestly, part of me wanted to make her regret ever crossing that line. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. I couldn't believe I built my life around someone who could lie so effortlessly and cheat behind my back. That night I stayed awake, mapping out what I was going to do next. I needed to find out if she was still seeing Mike, or if this was just a one-time thing. I decided to follow her, see if I could catch her in the act or at least gather more evidence. So I waited until she left for her work event again. I took her phone with me just in case she left a trail somewhere. I'd never been much of a sneaky guy before, but I was desperate now. I followed her to a bar downtown, a place she told me she'd never go to alone. As I watched from a distance, I saw her walk in with a guy I didn't recognize. My stomach sank again. Could it be Mike or someone else? I stayed hidden, watching her through the window as she sat with this guy, laughing and touching his arm. It was obvious she was flirting again, maybe more than flirting. I felt a mix of anger and heartbreak. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was out there doing this behind my back. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so cold, so indifferent? I didn't want to just sit back and be a victim. I decided I needed to do something more direct, an action that would make her realize I wasn't going to be played like a fool anymore. I started planning my revenge, figuring out how I could turn this whole thing around on her, make her regret ever betraying me. I knew I had to be smart. If I just blew up and accused her in front of everyone, she'd deny even more and I'd look like the crazy, jealous husband. No, I had to catch her in the act, get concrete proof, and then strike back. This wasn't just about ending the marriage. It was about making her see that she couldn't get away with it. I'd wait until I had everything I needed, then confront her with everything: her lies, her infidelity, her manipulations. The thought of her lying, giggling with another guy made my blood boil. I promised myself that whatever I did next, it would be ruthless. If she thought she could cheat and get away with it, she was dead wrong. Over the next few days, I kept my eyes open and my mind focused. I couldn't just act impulsively. I needed to gather as much evidence as possible, and I had to plan my move carefully. I started checking her phone when she wasn't looking, taking screenshots of messages, and even installing a little tracking app on her phone when she wasn't home. I didn't want to just catch her in the act. I wanted her to see I was serious, that I was in control now, not her secret. Love her or her lies. Meanwhile, Jessica kept up her act of being the innocent victim, throwing attitude my way, calling me paranoid and insecure whenever I brought up her behavior. She'd deny everything, get defensive, and then act like I was the crazy one for doubting her. I noticed her sassy attitude was getting worse, her sharp words sharper than ever. It was like she was trying to push me away completely, to make me feel small and unworthy. But I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. I knew I had to take definitive action soon, or she'd just keep stringing me along. One night I decided to confront her again, but this time I knew I had enough proof to back up my accusations. I sat her down calmly but firmly and laid everything out: the messages, the times I followed her, the evidence I'd collected. Her reaction was classic. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and shot back more lies. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. Mike's just a friend. You're paranoid because you're insecure." That was her go-to line, always calling me insecure, always making herself out to be the victim. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I told her I'd had enough, that I knew everything and that I was done playing her game. Her face twisted in anger, then disbelief. She tried to deny everything, but I knew better. I saw the truth in her eyes. The betrayal hit me hard, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I couldn't keep pretending this was just a misunderstanding or that she'd change. She'd been lying from the start, and I was tired of being the fool. I told her I was leaving, that I wanted a divorce, and that I'd make sure she paid for what she did. The moment I said it, I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. Maybe she knew I was serious, or maybe she finally understood she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. Either way, I knew I was done being her backup plan, her secret escape. I was going to take control and make her see that she couldn't cheat and lie without consequences. In the days that followed, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Confronting Jessica and laying everything bare was like ripping off a bandage I'd been avoiding for too long. But now, with the evidence in hand and the truth exposed, I knew I had to follow through. I started preparing for the divorce, making plans to move out and looking into legal advice. It was clear she wasn't going to change, and honestly, I didn't want to waste another second on her manipulations. She kept trying to guilt-trip me, calling me crazy, accusing me of overreacting, but I stood my ground. I had the proof, and I was damn sure I wasn't going to let her ruin me anymore. One day, I finally told her that I was filing for divorce. Her reaction was as expected. She flipped her shit, called me every name in the book, and said I was ruining everything. But I didn't care. I was tired of the lies, the cheating, and the emotional roller coaster she'd put me through. I told her she could keep her lies and her secret affairs, but I was done. I was finished being her fool, her punching bag, her backup plan. I told her she'd regret it someday, that karma had a way of catching up with people like her. Her face contorted into a sneer, but I saw the flicker of fear, the realization that I was serious now. Throughout this process, I started to feel a strange sense of empowerment. Yeah, I was hurt, betrayed, and incredibly angry, but I was finally taking control of my life. I realized I'd been giving her too much power, allowing her to manipulate and lie to me for so long. Now I was reclaiming that power, making choices that I knew would protect me and move me forward. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, of loneliness, of feeling like I'd lost everything. But I also knew that staying with her wouldn't fix anything, and that staying would only make me more miserable in the long run. Looking back, I learned a lot about trusting myself and recognizing the signs of betrayal before they get so bad. I wish I'd seen it sooner, but I guess you never really do until it's too late. To anyone out there dealing with a partner who's cheating and lying, trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags. And when you're ready, take control. Sometimes cutting ties is the only way to survive and move on. Jessica may have burned her bridge with me, but I'm determined to rebuild my life, stronger and wiser than before. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to think love and trust were enough to keep a marriage solid, but I've learned the hard way that honesty is the foundation. Jessica's betrayal was a blow I didn't see coming, but it also opened my eyes to how much I had been blind to her true nature. She thought she could lie her way out of everything, that her charm and bitchy attitude could keep us afloat, but I saw through all of that. I saw her for what she really was, a manipulator and a liar who couldn't be trusted. The process of letting go wasn't easy. I had moments of anger, moments of sadness, and even moments when I questioned whether I'd ever be able to trust again. But those feelings have started to fade, replaced by a sense of relief and a new beginning. I've come to accept that her cheating and lies were her choice, not mine, and that I deserve better. I refuse to be the fool anymore. I want to rebuild my life, focus on myself, and find happiness outside of someone who couldn't be honest with me. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You can't change a person who chooses to lie and cheat. The only thing you can control is your own reaction, your decision to stay or walk away. I chose to walk away, and I don't regret it. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and showing that you're stronger than their lies. So I guess this is my story. It's a warning, a confession, and a lesson all in one. Trust your instincts, don't ignore the red flags, and never let someone manipulate you into thinking you're the crazy one. Because in the end, the truth will always come out, and when it does, you'll find a way to heal and move forward. I'm still healing, but I'm also reclaiming my life. And honestly, that's all that matters now.